From my childhood, the holiday tradition that stands out is the way that my father would absolutely cherish the orange that would come in his Christmas stocking. He always made sure to hold it with the pads of his fingers so as not to damage the fruit. He had a starter. Now, let's be honest, this was a letter opener. He's not going to be duped into buying a kitchen utensil that only has one purpose. But the task was to see if you could get the rind, get the peel off all in one piece. And all the chaos and all the arguments and all the stress of Christmas would fall away and time would stand still while we would watch to see if this would be that time. And in the process, you would see these little beads of juice. And I don't really like oranges, but by the time he was done and he broke it and he offered you a piece, it was the most tantalizing looking piece of fruit that you could ever imagine. And of course you wanted one. Now remember, this was a perfectly ordinary piece of fruit. And this was, in fact, the way that he opened every orange every day of the year, but there was something magical about the way that he opened it at Christmas time. It simply wasn't Christmas until Dad opened his orange. Now, he had grown up in the 1930s in Wisconsin. His father worked for Kohler. If you know Kohler, you may know their toilets. But in 1945, Kohler started a strike, which would become the longest labor movement in American labor history, the longest strike. And my father's father, my grandfather, was one of the organizers of this strike. And they went through 6 long years of sacrifice. And my father, even though he was 8, he started working that year, and one of the things he did was pick fruit. But even in the toughest of years, his family would find a way to put fruit and nuts in their children's stockings. And the last year of the strike, his parents sat him down and all the kids down and explained, this year Santa wasn't going to come because the money was gone and they weren't going to be able to have Christmas that year. And yet, somehow, on Christmas morning, all their stockings got filled. This was a precious, precious tradition, and my father hung on to it and passed it on to me. I'm an only child, and we moved around a lot. My parents immigrated to Canada in the late 60s. So we didn't have a lot of family around. It was just the 3 of us at Christmas time. So we made our own traditions. We always had the stockings, but Christmas in Toronto for me was Chinese food and movies. And we've continued moving around a lot. I've continued moving around a lot, such it is that now I'm here in Washington, D.C., and my folks are out west. And I've been here 14 years, and this is the longest I've ever been anywhere. And I've managed to create some Christmas traditions of my own with my urban family. I live in a condo building called the Lancaster, and we have a holiday potluck, and we get to have food from all around the world, from India and from Pakistan and from Cambodia. We have a really eclectic building, and it's become part of the magic of Christmas for me. So as I build my magical Christmases, what I look for are food, of course, drink, music, meals, and puzzles. I always have a good puzzle going in my condo. And my neighbors know that at any moment they can stop by and help me with what is now the most difficult puzzle that I have ever done, because it's always the most difficult puzzle, whichever one that I'm working on at the present moment. One of the things that's kind of magical about living in Washington, D.C. is over the years I have been invited to Ghanaian Christmas. I have been invited to Jewish Christmas. I have been invited to BDSM Christmas.
Really?
Yes. But last year I decided I wanted to not just have magic, I was going to take an active part in making some magic. So my folks live in Tucson. I thought that one of the ways that I could be a little Christmas elf would be that I would call over to Subway and have a gift card waiting for them when they showed up for Christmas Eve breakfast. Now, I know that Christmas Day is a day that Subway happens to be closed because my parents go to Subway every day for breakfast. So when I say they go to Subway every day, I mean they go every day. And when I say they go for breakfast, I mean they're there before the crew shows up in the morning at 7 a.m. So I looked it up online. I knew they went to the Subway on Houghton Road, and I found myself speaking with Devin, the morning manager. I said, well, Devin, okay, so my parents come in every morning, and I would like to have a gift card waiting for them. You know them, I'm sure. They're waiting by the door when you show up in the morning, and they take up 2 tables, one for their coats and their hats and their briefcases, and then they settle into the other table, and they have their paper and their crossword puzzles and their toothbrushes, because they both go brush their teeth after breakfast, come back freshened up. And he's saying to me, I don't know. And I was like, there is no way that you don't know these people, right? They spend like an hour in Subway that has 4 tables and they're taking 2 of them up. And he says to me, well, ma'am, I've only worked here a couple years. And I said, yeah, that means you would have seen them 600 times. And he says to me, oh, maybe there's another Subway down Houghton Road. So I find myself 10 seconds into phone call number 2 explaining. So my name is Anna. My parents come in every morning. He cuts me off and he says, are you talking about Dr. Eugene and Mary Frances Trester? Yes, I am. I would like to have a gift card waiting for them when they show up for breakfast on Christmas Eve so that they could have, their breakfast. I'm not quite sure. Their order comes to 6:33. So if you give a gift card for $20, that'll do them for about 3 breakfasts. And I thought that would work. That would be great. So we went ahead and we did that. And Christmas Day, my mom called to tell me what a little surprise, what a delightful little surprise it had been. And she thanked me for being a Christmas elf. And I was delighted, but I had to run actually because I was heading to Deaf Christmas. And last year I had learned from my inability to communicate in ASL that it would be good to bring an activity, so I was bringing cupcakes that we were all going to decorate, the kids and the adults. We were going to make reindeer cupcakes. So I was talking to my mom, but I was, heading out the door with my cupcakes, and I opened the front door of my condo, and I noticed that the stocking that I hang there decoratively had been filled by a Christmas elf at the Lancaster, and I still don't know which of my neighbors did this. Everyone says that it was not them, but they filled my Christmas stocking with chocolates and toys and puzzles and games and yes, and orange. Thank you.